So I've been doing webinars for 12 years now, and it remains both anecdotally and also measurably the highest performing demand generation tactic that I've ever used. That all other elements of a marketing campaign are generally built around a webcast. But the fact that you can create one piece of content that can be immediately measurable and reusable, not just at the top of the funnel, but during nurturing campaigns as well and lower funnel activities, it's invaluable.
I love webinars because, quite frankly, if you can get people to commit an hour of their time, but not only that, if you can get them to ask a question, right, you can learn so much. In fact, I attend, when I work on projects for clients, I attend their competitors' webinars because I want to know the questions that get asked at the end of that webinar, because I want to know where they miss. Because what if my client can get that first?
It's also very effective from a cost-effective standpoint, because at Acton, we don't really put salespeople and marketing people on an airplane very often. We try to do as many things on the web as possible, and that's a very cost-effective way to reach people.
Now, you can also take a webinar, it's one of the things I love about it, right, and you transcribe it. You've got an hour's worth of great content that you can now turn into a white paper, you could turn into a series of articles, you could turn into a variety of different things, right? And here's a bunch of content that's all tied around a concept you know people are interested in because they signed up. You know, so what's better than that?
Webinars have always been a key part of what we do, and every week we have a few webinars that have 300 to 1,000 people on the webinars. And we tune those to the phases of the buying cycle. I'm interested in the topics. I need to learn more.
In a lot of cases, things like webcasts and videos are low barrier to entry type of things that give people a lot of information very quickly in a dynamic fashion. That's very usable in many cases early in the buying process. Video obviously can be very compelling from the standpoint of customer reference programs as well. Seeing other customers in a video format talking about their experience with your product, why they chose to buy it. Those are all things that can be effective if you plug them into the right spaces overall in the buying process. So to me, it's not what's effective and what's not, it's how are you using it, when, and for who.
Our challenges related to webinars, they are big undertakings. They're not necessarily the same as a white paper, some of the challenges, but you do have a lot of coordination and planning to do them right. If the content's not professional, you're actually projecting an unprofessional image of the company, so you have to have your presentation right, your customers have to be coordinated, they have to be on message, and you want people to be engaged and staying throughout the webinar the entire time, and hopefully, ideally, be able to answer questions and such. So it's pretty important you get the content right, and not just the topic, but then you plan out how you're going to tell that story properly.
I think the other evolving part of webinars is just making it a lot more accessible. The thing that I think has become a little bit of a breakdown for webinars is there's so many of them now. To commit an hour is really difficult for people. So the ability to view it on demand is really critical.
You see about 35 to 40% of the people that register for a webinar actually end up attending that, and then what we see is another 35 to 40% actually seeing the archive, and then that's actually growing because of the fact that those are being shared. So the archive is being shared, and so you'll actually get over 100% of your audience to see a webinar that you've been in, and that spreads.
The delivery mechanism is really important. Is it recorded? Can you view it on your phone? Can you view it on your iPad? Is it easy and relaxed? I think at the same time, it's a great way to get the message out. Again, knowing where it plays and with whom it plays, and making sure that the content isn't salesy. Make sure the content is educational, it's informative, it's accurate, and there's value in it, because time really is money, and we don't have a lot of time right now.
And so I think the challenge with video is, how do you make a good video in under 3 minutes that has something meaty enough for somebody to take away that people want to watch? If you really look at it, a story is beginning, middle, end, right? So your hero, who's your buyer, has a goal, and then there's all this stuff in the middle that gets in the way, all the conflict, right? The obstacles. Who do they have to convince? How do they build the business case, right? How do they get to consensus? And so if you really think about it, and you think of what are all the questions that my buyer could have on their way to solving this problem? And every piece of content you design answers one of those questions. You can start seeing how they would fall together to create this ongoing storyline, right? To get them to the end where they become your customer and everybody lives happily ever after, right?
I saw some research from Cisco Systems that said by 2013 or 2014, something like 80% of the time spent online is going to be engaging in videos. So that's enough for me to look and say, okay, video is pretty darn important. So I'm excited about the future. I think we probably just scratched the surface with the webinar.